Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Sandisk. It is time for another update and we will be brief today. We are focusing here on the larger time frame initially, where we are looking at a larger impulse to still be forming. We would have here basically a 1-2 setup, and this would be our larger wave 3 to the upside that would be expected to still be ongoing. Now, within this wave 3, we would certainly be towards the later stages. We would expect this to unfold within a wave 5, and at this point, it can theoretically still work out as an impulse. Now, this wave 4 correction is certainly larger than ideal, but this doesn't prevent this structure from being a valid interpretation, but it does make us wonder whether we are within a slightly different count, whether this could potentially form instead an ending diagonal within this overall wave 5, which is still a perfectly valid interpretation within a larger wave 3 as an impulse. Where instead of having a series of 1-2 setups here, we would have this as a single 1-2, then this would be a wave 3 to the upside, we would have this as a wave 4 correction, and we would actually be forming a major top, well, major relative to this chart, in this wave 3 within the next movement to the upside, within the next wave, in which we would instead form only an ABC pattern. Now, of course, we will continue to track this idea of a possible extension within an impulse as long as we hold the relevant levels of support, and we cannot really look for anything too bearish on this chart until we actually break some levels, until we actually invalidate some rather more bullish interpretations. Now, within this area, in this wave 4, in the previous video, we did provide this support zone at the levels between $557 down to $413. We can allow even a deeper retracement in the case of a diagonal structure, but this doesn't seem necessary in the case of this very bullish chart. And we did also highlight a potential initial 5-wave move to the downside within this as a wave A, yeah? We had here a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We really were able to track with decently high probabilities that after a 3-wave correction into a resistance area, it would be decently likely that we would get another 5-wave move to the downside within this follow-up structure. So at this point, we are able to consider this pattern to be complete. We actually have a full count, and if we want, we can even look if we reached the ideal target within this wave C, but based on the latest extension, I wouldn't even care if we reached it exactly or not, and yeah, it seems we fell just ever so slightly short of reaching the 100% extension, but already we have a substantial reversal to the upside, and we in fact have a quite similar pattern with what we see formed on the micron chart within the smaller time frame, for which we just did an update. Now, before we move into the smaller time frame and what we would be tracking for the next wave to the upside, I wanted to briefly remind you that if you enjoyed this video, leaving a like would be greatly appreciated. If you want to receive more such updates, subscribing might not be a bad idea. And if you enjoy the content and you want to support us directly, you can even check out our channel membership. And any of these actions are greatly appreciated, and as a thank you, I want to invite you to join our channel newsletter, which is completely free. You can find the sign up link in the description, and there we provide our monthly top picks where we identify for you high quality structures with clear levels of support you can use for accumulation and for clear risk management. Now, getting back to the chart, here within this movement to the upside, I'm looking to see if we can build an initial 5-wave pattern. That would be key in managing to identify an additional high probability trade setup, and not only that, but also a confirmation that this wave 5 would already be unfolding, because at this point we only have a 3-wave correction. It could be all the same in building this as a larger 1-2 setup, where I can even provide you an internal area of resistance. So I would be watching here out for the levels up to the 78.6% retracement, so basically the $650 level. We haven't gotten there yet, but we are still within the resistance area, of course, and there is still some pressure to continue to lower prices. Now, There is still the broader area of resistance we previously had in orange, but I don't believe this is necessarily particularly relevant at this point, and we can even remove this as, yeah, we have already most likely completed this as a pattern, as a structure to the downside, so we can focus on what comes next. And in terms of this structure, I would so far look at this to be an impulse, yeah, actually a very pretty one. And we got a quite shallow retracement. That's not necessarily ideal, and what is also not ideal is that we did not reach the ideal target for a wave 3, which is the $645 level at 100 at the 138.2% retracement of a wave 1. So this actually is a warning sign that a wave 4 correction here would be less reliable than a typical wave 4 correction where the ideal target for a wave 3 would have been reached. So this doesn't necessarily change our support zone that we would be tracking, our retracement area, our expectations, but it does decrease our trust. It does erode the probabilities we see for this structure in succeeding to build this pattern. And don't get me wrong, there are many ways a wave 5 could be taking place within this area. And for example, we could be looking at this to be a double 1-2-1-2 setup. Now, this would have even more bullish implications, but it is rather rare that this works, and I would still only be watching down to the 50% retracement for such a structure for even a 1-2 setup internally. But in addition to that, well, I wanted the wave 4 correction area. But in addition to that, I would also consider it possible for this larger wave 5 to the upside to be unfolding as an ending diagonal itself. And even beyond that, we presented earlier how this larger time frame structure would be able to be an ending diagonal. Well, that would allow this wave 5 to form instead an ABC structure, which doesn't really require the wave A to have a specific 5-wave structure or a 3-wave structure, yeah? Either could work out just fine. So while we cannot be too demanding to have an exact pattern of how this wave 5 unfolds, we can be picky on whether we are looking for a trade setup or not. And for this wave 4, I'm certainly not looking for a trade setup within this structure. And honestly, not even if we did reach the ideal target for such a wave 3, would I have been looking for a trade setup within such an area. Yeah, in fact, on the micron chart, we did reach the ideal target, but we don't necessarily regard that wave 4 correction as a high probability structure, as it still is within a difficult area. And on this chart, it might have had better probabilities if it managed to reach the ideal target than on the micron chart. But here we have this separate issue that doesn't allow us to look with the same high probabilities. Now, nonetheless, so far we have pushed into the first level of support. The structure doesn't seem to be impulsive, and I wouldn't look more into it. Yeah, we would be even able to have a bottom in place. After all, this did fulfill the minimum expectation. It did reach the area of support, and if we wanted to, we could identify a 3-wave pattern in this structure, but I don't believe it necessary to go into the smaller time frame to overanalyze this. And for now, there isn't much else to add. We have the levels of support, we have the level of resistance we need to break, the $650 level, and we are waiting for a signal that a more reliable pattern would be forming, because if we succeed in building this as an initial 5-wave structure, looking for a wave 2 area of support for a position might be something of interest, because the probabilities would have strongly improved in the favor of continuation to higher prices. And for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you would like me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.